Today we're going to look at the U.S. and Texas Bills of Rights. The U.S. Bill of Rights was added after the U.S. Constitution was completed, but before the American people approved it. It guarantees basic rights for U.S. citizens. Although there are 10 amendments, there are many more rights included in each. The First Amendment includes freedom of religion, freedom of speech, freedom of the press, right to assemble, and right to petition. Freedom of religion means that you can choose to worship anything you want or nothing at all. Government will not interfere with your religion. Freedom of speech. You can say anything you want. However, you cannot say anything that will endanger the lives of others, such as shouting fire in a crowded theater when there is no fire. Also, if you say something untrue about someone else in public, you can be sued by that person. Freedom of the press. You can print anything you want, and the government will not censor, edit out newspapers, TV, internet, radio, etc. The same rules apply to this right. If you slander, say something untrue about another person, you can be sued. Right to assemble. You can gather together in groups in public. If you want to protest something, you can also gather, but you may need to get a permit first. You must gather peacefully. If there's violence, the police can arrest you for disturbing the peace. Right to petition. You can ask the government to change something you don't like. Most commonly, someone will write the change on a piece of paper and ask people to sign it if they agree. Then they give the petition to the government to ask for the change. Today, you can make a petition by going to whitehouse.gov. The Second Amendment, right to keep and bear arms or weapons. Everyone has the right to own weapons and defend themselves. However, there are limits to this right. For instance, if you commit a felony, a serious crime, that right can be removed. Third Amendment, protection from quartering troops. No quartering of soldiers. The government can't force us to have soldiers live in our homes. Today, we provide homes for soldiers on military bases. Of course, if you live with a soldier, then you can have them in your home. It just says you don't have to be forced to have soldiers live in your home. Fourth Amendment is all about searches and seizures. The police cannot simply search your person, your body, your car, your property, your house without reasonable cause. They have to believe that you have committed some kind of crime. Most of the time, they have to go to a court and get permission before they can search you. Fifth Amendment is commonly called the rights of the accused. The right to due process, for instance, going through the courts before going to prison. People who are accused of a crime have protection from double jeopardy. In other words, they can't be tried for the same crime twice. And also protection from self-incrimination. You don't have to admit you committed a crime. Sixth Amendment is rights regarding jury trials for criminal cases. You have the right to a speedy trial. That means a quick trial. You have the right to a trial by jury, 12 people deciding if you're innocent or guilty. You have the right to confront your accuser. So if somebody's accusing you of committing a crime, you have the right to know who that is and to question them. You also have a right to an attorney, somebody that will represent you in court. The Seventh Amendment is also about trial by jury, but in this case, it's what we call civil cases, when one person is suing another or one person is suing a corporation. This is when you want to sue somebody else. Say you stole my idea and made some money off of it, and I want to sue you to get the idea and the money back. It has to be worth more than $20 in damages. Eighth Amendment is about cruel and unusual punishment. The government is not allowed to torture people, and they have to treat people in jail humanely. It also protects people from excessive bails and fines, so the government charging you too much money to get out of jail. The Ninth Amendment is for the rights of the people, protection of rights not specifically mentioned in the Constitution. The Founding Fathers knew they probably didn't get everything, all the rights that people wanted to have. And so they said, this is for all the rights we didn't mention. For example, the right to privacy or the right to education. The 10th Amendment is the rights or powers of the states. Any power that's not specifically given to the federal government are reserved or kept for the states. This is going along with that principle of government called federalism, dividing power between the federal and state governments. So that was the U.S. Bill of Rights. Again, it was 10 amendments, but there were a lot more rights that I mentioned. Unlike the U.S. Constitution, the Texas Constitution puts the Bill of Rights at the beginning of its document in Article 1, kind of like a chapter. Originally, there were 29 sections. It's been expanded to 32 sections now. The Texas Bill of Rights might seem longer, but many of the rights are simply reordered or they elaborate. They talk about it a little bit more. So I'm not going to go over every single one of those 32, and I kind of lumped them together so that we've got topics that are the same. Sections 1 and 2 talk about republicanism. Texas is a free state, but it's under the Constitution, and Texas is a republic where the people of the state make decisions for the state through voting. Section 3 talks about equality under the law. Everybody shall be treated equally, and they should not be denied equality, be treated equally based on sex, race, color, creed, or national origin. In the U.S. Constitution, this is Amendment 14. Sections 4 through 7 deal with religion. If you have a religious belief or don't have a religious belief, that's not going to keep you from holding office in government or from serving on a jury. Also, just like the First Amendment in the U.S. Constitution, the people have the right to worship as they please. The Texas Constitution also specifically says that governments are going to stay out of religion. They're not going to give money to religions. They're not going to regulate religions. They're just going to leave them alone. Section 9, unreasonable searches. Just like the Fourth Amendment in the U.S. Constitution, people are protected from unreasonable searches and seizures of their person, houses, paper, and possessions, and warrants cannot be issued without probable cause. They have to have a reason to think that you might be guilty. Section 10 through 15 are the rights of the accused, just like the Fifth Amendment of the U.S. Constitution. People have the right to a speedy public trial by jury, no excessive bail, people can't be tried for the same crime twice. Sections 16 through 19 deal with due process. The state can't take your property without paying for it. People can't be put in jail because they have debt. And citizens can't be denied life, liberty, or property without due process of the law. Due process means you have to go through the steps of the law. You have to go through the court system before anything can happen. Section 20 to 22 deal with punishments. People can't be exiled or forced to leave the state as a punishment. Also, people who are convicted as a criminal and go to jail, that doesn't mean that their moms and dads and brothers and sisters or cousins or uncles or whoever should be treated badly too. So there's a section that says relatives of criminals can't be punished. Finally, it defines treason as fighting against the state or helping somebody else fight against the state. In sections 23 through 25, we have some military rights. Citizens have the right to own guns, but the legislature may regulate or make laws about the carrying of guns. That goes along with the Second Amendment of the U.S. Constitution, the right to bear arms. The military has to follow the law. That goes along with the principle of government, limited government. And people do not have to keep soldiers in their homes. Just like the U.S. Constitution's Third Amendment, no quartering of soldiers, people do not have to have soldiers in their homes in Texas either. Section 27 talks about the right to assemble and petition, going back to that First Amendment. The people have the right to assemble in groups and to protest actions of the government. The people can petition the government to ask for changes. Finally, sections 30 and 31, rights of criminal or crime victims. Victims of crimes have rights such as the right to be treated with dignity, the right to be protected from the accused, and the right to be informed of punishment. For instance, let's say that somebody murders your brother and they get put in jail, you have the right to be informed when they are released from jail at some time in the future. The state also has set up a fund for victims of crime. Okay, so this Texas Bill of Rights, it has a little bit more detail to it, but it pretty much has all the same things that you saw in